Well, one thing's for sure: these WB HBO Max releases have been a real mixed bag. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. Look, it's clear that this movie isn't designed for someone like me who's an adult without kids. So I'm coming at this more of an adult uh, seeing if this is something that you should be watching with your kids, or if you want to take the time to actually sit down and watch this with your kids. Because you know there's movies that some adults do enjoy. Most of the Pixar stuff you can like, you can sit down with your kids like, I'm going to get something out of this. So this is more of me coming at it from that angle. It's not. So if you're an adult and you're an old school Tom and Jerry fan, the sort of return to the classic 2D animation is a welcome sight. You'll have some enjoyment out of that. It's clean, it looks good, it sort of harkens back to your childhood and reminds you some of the good things that you had with Tom and Jerry. But remember, those episodes were only about 5 minutes to 15 minutes long. They were basically these shorts, sort of like the Looney Tunes stuff does. Thing is, this movie is about an hour and 40 minutes long. And to pad the shorts that they normally have with Tom and Jerry, you have this film starring Chloë Moretz and Michael Peña and Colin Jost that feels like a very different movie than anything that should be associated with Tom and Jerry. And look, I get it. You have a film where your two leads don't speak, so you have to be very creative with how you go about making a film around them. And you have to create some sort of human, sort of like with the Transformers. Although in those films, the Transformers at least do have the ability to speak. Um, with Tom and Jerry not being able to speak, or you're choosing not to give them the ability to speak, you have to be a little bit more creative in how you put a film together for them. I don't think this is the best way to go about it. There is a great deal of time where in this movie, Kayla, who is played by Chloë Moretz, spends more time on screen being a hotel concierge and a wedding planner versus us even seeing Tom and Jerry. They're literally not on screen where the focus is on them, which it's just a weird thing to have a movie called Tom and Jerry where they've been relegated to being basically side B characters, and Chloe and the gang are being the leads. And let me remind you, this is no disservice to those actors because I think they are all aware of what type of film they're in. They are playing to the fourth wall, and that's as they should be because they're playing to kids. Okay, they're playing to the back row of the theater. It's very big, and that's fine. That's not the issue. It's just when you're merging these two completely different stories of hijinks with the cat and the mouse, and then an Indian Bollywood slash wedding and some other stuff. You're like, I don't know what this movie is or why these things were the two impetus that you chose to put together. I also may be dating myself a little bit. There was I believe it was a '93 Tom and Jerry movie that had Tom and Jerry speaking, albeit the voices that they chose to be Tom and Jerry didn't quite mesh up with the characters or personalities, but they still gave them a voice. I don't see why that could not have been an option here. When you're giving characters a feature length film, there has to be sort of a give and take with what you can and can't do in this format versus what you could do in the shorts. You may have had to give them a voice just to be like, okay, look, we got to give them some type of character beat, or at least one of them. Since Tom is more of the lead, you may give him a voice and keep the mouse silent. I don't know, but there should have been some other thought thesis than let's make a Chloe Moretz vehicle as a hotel concierge and her coming, figuring out her life. Meanwhile, Tom and Jerry are doing some stuff on the side. That's just not what I want to see from Tom and Jerry. But I think there might be kids who enjoy it. It's very slapstick. It's just very, if you know what you're getting with the Roadrunner and Coyote or Itchy and Scratchy, which is sort of a play off of this, then yeah, it's there. A bit toned down because a lot of the stuff that they did back in the day was super violent. Well, animated violence was still super violent. This movie does that in spades, but if you're willing to, as an adult, willing to sort of sift through all the other stuff that comes with it, it's an okay film. It's not the worst thing I've seen. Um, so on my scale of once is enough, play it again, Sam, or give me a time stone, so I'd never have to think about this again. This is once is enough, and it's teetering on that. Give me a time stone, so I never have to think about this again. But once is enough. I think kids may get something out of this because it's when you're in that 6 to 8 range. Anytime somebody blows up or something gets slapped in the face, you kind of chuckle or laugh about it. Adults, you're gonna hate this. I can tell you that you're gonna want to check out. And so I would suggest if you want, um, you should probably give this to your kids and say, hey, go ahead and watch this. The only caveat I say to that is that you may want to be there to explain that some of that violent stuff that Tom and Jerry do to each other isn't real. So there is some of that you may want to be there for. But otherwise, if your kids already know what's real and what's not, you can go ahead and have a glass of wine while this thing is playing because you don't need to watch this. What did you guys think about Tom and Jerry? If you've seen it, if you watched it, did your kids enjoy it? You may not have like I want to drink every bottle of liquor I have here, but my kids liked it, so yay. If that's the case, go ahead and leave your comments in the comments below. If you haven't, go ahead and follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name. That's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts. You can find us there. We have a sister podcast called You Can't Do That Anymore, where we talk about classic movies such as Gone with the Wind or American Beauty or Tropic Thunder and look at what those films and some of the problems they did back in the day that they got away with, see if they can do those things today through the eyes of 2021. Like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.